Thank you so much. Thanks to all my panel members and good afternoon to each one of you all. Let me start on a little lighter note, okay, since the topic speaks about anticipating skills shifts. In 2016, one of my team member asked me, Karthik sir, when did you pass out your masters? I said 99-2000. She said, sir, tab to main 4 saal ki thi. Okay, for a moment I didn't know what to do. I scratched my head and I said that, okay, you can call me as your grandfather and your manager, my manager as your great-grandfather. Then she asked me, innocent way, who will be my mother or father? Then I asked, whom are you reporting to? A lady or a guy? She said a lady. Then consider her as your mother till the time you are in the system. The follow-up question, when you joined this organization, what were the skills on which you got assessed? Okay, I said, I'll check with the leadership who has assessed me and probably I'll be able to answer it a little more better. So with this, probably I'll just would like to call it out that if we go back and see, over half of the companies that made to Fortune 500 in 2000, okay, 50% of them are non-existing at this point in time. Either they got merged or they got acquired or they were sunset completely. Okay. Now today we will try and look into how this has created the impact on the skills in totality. With this, now my submission to each of the panel members, anybody can bring across your expertise. My first thing which I want to understand from you all is, from your point of view, what are the skill shift challenges, okay, and proactively getting analyzed or planned or able to get addressed in an organization environment, considering we don't know whether the TA, talent acquisition, is a reactive or proactive.
Good afternoon, everyone. Deeply humbled to be here with such a knowledgeable audience. My thoughts are around if at all we are proactive. In reality, everything is as of yesterday. The only thing that we want is all of us to be a little proactive, especially our business leaders and also our hiring managers. But that's not how it's going to work. And the onus is on us as talent partners. How is that we can be proactively be available for the business to provide the solutions that they are actually thinking about, not even telling, thinking about. So to answer to your question, Karthik, are we proactive? We want to be proactive. But in a startup environment, it's always, there are 100 things that you have planned, but there are another 200 things that gets added when that you've not even had any kind of visibility. So in this environment, how can you be so proactive? Yet, with the help of technology, and the tools that are available, I can talk of so many things that as talent organizations, what we can do. First is understand the landscape of the organization and build a talent landscape of what are the kind of people that you require in the organization ahead of time. Map them, build some kind of a succession planning as a business continuity plan, foreseeing that this is going to be a demand or a surge. For example, another example, these are all live examples. Yesterday in the evening, I was working late night for something which was considered priority, and 3 different items. And in between this priority, 2 got off the list itself. So we need to be that agile. We cannot be thinking, no, this was set, we had to do this, this cannot be done. We cannot be in that mindset. Another example, when I was working at Amazon, there was a tsunami in Japan. If anybody can remember this happened sometime in 2011-12. No, little earlier than that. I think 2011, if I remember it right. In few hours on Amazon page, a donation payment gateway was set up. In few hours. I can't believe the number of approvals that would have gone through to put up this entire piece on Amazon website, but it was done. Does it mean at Amazon, did we plan that, okay, there's going to be a tsunami in Japan, so we should build this particular payment gateway donation to help them? It's about being there for the business and providing that solution.
Thank you so much. So since you spoke about the landscape, and today we see the organizations are witnessing one, change in the business landscape. We can see the technology advancements. We can see the workforce dynamics, evolving market dynamics, and also constant challenge between the capabilities or competencies. And with the different generations that we are operating with. Probably any one of you all can share some of your experiences. Today, DEI is becoming a most critical factor, right? And it's playing a major roles. How companies are taking up various strategic initiatives, okay? So that the great talent pool that is available globally or with specific reference to India, what are some of the measures or steps which are critical, which are taken, or do you think we should take?
So hi, good afternoon everybody. So I represent Being Human Clothing. So Being Human itself is a brand which actually straddles the business and the conscious circle. So when we talk about business and conscious circle, D&I has to be a part of it. So when we say that, we proudly say that, right from the strategic angle of the growth of an organization, it's believed that, we talk about women diversity and, we talk about inclusion. In fact, all our stores in India have a specially abled person, which is either could be a deaf or a mute person, but how do we straddle that and ensure that they actually get the right platform to perform? Because of course they are a part of the group which already is, hand in hand in competition with the same set of people, and they're also doing the same job. So we've kind of gone a little more ahead in terms of, what do we do for them in terms of the extra support, in terms of, maybe language, maybe sign language expert being hired, and so on and so forth. And we proudly say that, the last town hall, we were having the top 10 salespeople, we had 4 of them being specially abled. So that's the strategy which we straddle. Now when we talk about this, and globally, since we are now expanding our geographies in Asia Pacific as well as in the North America, what we've seen is that the global talent force which is available is way different than what is there in India. But what we want to do is, the ethos of the brand needs to be carried everywhere at every different country. Because the values what we preach is, we believe that trust and integrity is something which is by default in a person. The values what we preach is love, care, share, joy, help and hope. And all our programs, whether it is talent development, whether it is talent acquisition, works around it. So in fact, we have various programs wherein we kind of get everybody onto the same platform and build that ethos there. In fact, we have programs wherein, because we are being human, while we believe on a meritocracy-based culture, we kind of, have a program which is more in line with how do we ensure that the people who are non-performers come up the ladder and grow. That's the inclusion which we are talking about. And of course, we are proud to say that we are one among the top today in terms of the women diversity. In fact, one of our first launch stores is in Bangalore, which is a all-women store run. So right from the store manager till the guard, the security guard is a woman. So I think it's all upon the strategy and how do the organization want to straddle and ensure how do we reap our benefits. In fact, that store is our top performing store today.
Wonderful, and glad to know that there's an inclusion involved. There was all women stores that is involved, and consciously how you all are investing. And you were speaking about the skills part of it. Okay. Now, this is where I want to understand, and as per PwC report that we see, what are the global HR challenges across 29 industries, across 5 continents. Now, when the report throws out, the top 3 challenges 5 years back were leadership, change management, and compensation. And today it is talks about leadership, change management, and HR effectiveness. 3 to 5 years from now, it talks about leadership, change management, and organization effectiveness. So now I just want to understand from y'all that technology advancement is significantly intruding into the workplace in various nuances, especially post-COVID. Now, there's lots of collaborativeness is required between the organization and institutions. Okay? How many of us are thinking in those lines that it is essential? One. Number two, how do we foresee, because we want a ready-made available student who needs to get employed, and we expect them to start producing the results from the very 30th day or the 60th day. So what are some of the measures or the areas that we need to focus on?
Can I? Okay. So, so this is a reactive approach, okay? I would like to give you a nuance which was there, which we kind of built it in my last stint when I was working with the BFSI industry. It was more that, we kind of realized that, the competition which is attracting our talent and the exit reports and the analysis and the AI tool which we used kind of threw us the data that there is a gap in the L&D aspect for an individual. Now, and then suddenly we saw a surge in the hypot movement of people moving to the competition. That's when we kind of, what we did is that we kind of had a complete banker program installed, wherein we tied up with an institute which would make the professional not only ready to work for a BFSI, but work for any other financial institution, including a bank. So this kind of was a co-curated, program with the top universities today, to name a few, with the ISBs and the IIMs, and they developed this program for us and our people participated. In fact, we still hold the IP for that program. Similar thing in the retail, because I represent the retail industry now, what we have realized is that retail has a high churn in the front-end team, the team which is there at the stores. So what do we do for them? And how can we ensure that they are there with us, have the loyalty aspect, stay with us, and how do we develop them? Is where we've actually tied up with an institute now and curated a program which talks about the SOPs of retail. So when a person, a student who's undergoing his BBA or his post-graduation, gets to know 6-month time kind of a program wherein the entire retail journey is being set, right from the SOPs to the career journey to what are the effectiveness and how a person can grow within the company and become the CEO of the region. So we've kind of done that. I think that's helping us. And of course, it's time consuming, but then this was a proactive thing which we did in this industry.
Wonderful. Anybody would like?
On this, right? Industry and campus connect have to go hand in hand. It may not be for that particular organization, but we all have to keep in mind that we are contributing to the community and the society. For example, we all, in one of the organization, one of the assignments that I was part of, we all got a target of a certain percentage to have diverse talent. But who's actually developing them? Somebody else, right? Like, programs like return to work for women who have taken some time off. I laud these initiatives because there is somebody out there who's not looking for ready-made talent, but is willing to actually invest. That is for the women who have probably taken some time off. Could be mobility, could be maternity, or some other reason. Then the second approach is wanting for the students to start performing from day one. That is impossible. Instead, One of the programs that I'm actually leading and pushing for is 6 months internship program, like a finishing school. Come spend some time with us, get to know us. In the 6 months, while it looks like they are all learning from us, actually we are learning a lot from them. They are bringing in a different approach, mindset, and I'm able to convince my leaders that the next year, whenever we complete the headcount operations and the estimate, we will benchmark a certain number of headcount to absorb all these engineers whom we have already invested. Let's say for some reason we are unable to absorb all these people. It's a great feeling that we are giving them back to the industry. Somebody else can probably take them as a finished candidates. These are some of the initiatives that we are driving.
Thank you. Kunal, would you like to call out some of the skills do you think, because we talk about hard skills, soft skills, these terminologies have evolved like from nowhere. And hard skills we said which is required from a technical standpoint, soft skills are more of a survival aspect part of it. But today the game has completely changed. From your perspective, what are the things you would like to call out?
Good afternoon, everyone. So I represent Odgers Berndsen. We are a global leading executive search firm. So most of my work is in the space of leadership hiring, leadership assessment, leadership consulting. One of the things our clients come back and say, how do you know that you're going to have a successful candidate? Somebody who's going to perform, going to be, successful on the job. They almost ask us for a guarantee, right? And that's something that we've been pondering on. So if you look at the leadership level, typically, the mix changes. As he said, the hard skills or the technical skills are probably a little less important than the softer skills or the leadership skills. And again, we look at various aspects of leadership skills. There are probably about 15 different skills that we look at. The prominent ones would be, strategic skills, execution skills, things like team building, things like stakeholder influence, positive mindset and things like that. But the most critical, I would say, differentiator is learning agility. And what is learning agility? Each of us learn in different ways. How do you learn from your experiences? How do you apply that to new situations? How do you embrace change? We are all wired differently. And what we've noticed is between two candidates or two leaders who have pretty similar skill sets on the hard skills and many of the softer skills, the learning agility could be very, very different. And that's a critical differentiator. And I think given that we are talking of an era where there's going to be a lot of disruption, there is a data point I read about saying each of us will need 65% more skills to be able to do our jobs in 2030, which is amazing. I mean, we don't even know what those skills are, right? And given that situation, I think our ability to learn continuously, and it's not just the organization that needs to provide that enablement. It's a lot of it depends on us as individuals to be able to build that learning agility. So that's going to be the critical, I think, differentiator between who will succeed tomorrow versus who will not. Thanks.
Thank you, Kunal. Indeed, one thing I can see, the common thing that is coming across, which I also personally echo and I can express, is that number one, when I had been to the campus interviews in various roles and my capacity, so one thing which I started understanding is we tend to ask about their subject knowledge, how much they know about their concepts, theories, etc. And we see they are fit, bring on board. That's what the technical hiring team does it. And when the HR tends to do, they try to understand. Now, one of the premier schools that I had been to, I asked a question, have you seen any low moment in your journey in your personal capacity or any failure you have seen it? If you have so, can you narrate any experience and how did you overcome? Now, the person couldn't able to express it and that person couldn't able to get selected. Okay? In this process, one thing what happened was, Now we had to reject the person, and the person couldn't able to take this and went back to the hostel. And after the entire process got over, I requested the placement committee team, can you please request the person to come over? I want to spend the time, would like to give the insights, what we were looking forward and what was important. One must invest on their life skills. Because at the workplace, your technical skills, like how we got to learn from the panel, they'll be getting upskilled in some way or the other. The life skills is what something is important. In fact, if you see the IBM research that has happened in 2016, 2018, and 2023, the very top two things that it calls out is one on the time management, second thing on the effective communication, not communication, effective communication is what it talks to. Now it makes me to take to the other aspect part of it. Now since you do the leadership hiring and been training and you have different in the industry. Now we've managed different generations, right? When we manage different generations, the hiring skills that is required not only just for today's job, even for tomorrow's job at any career level that we take, at the entry level to the mid-level or a senior level. What are some of the things that you all look into it? And what are the important things we need to start, if we have not started focusing, we should start focusing on?
I can, probably take a stab at that. Depending on the organizations, the expectations from people continues to change. I've been part of the large organizations and currently a startup. In large organizations, because they're already up and running, they have something going right for them. They look for more of that culture fit. There's the soft skills that we just spoke about. There's a lot of emphasis on that versus an organization which is getting built ground up and which needs generalist to begin with. Then you need a specialist who can become a generalist who can become a specialist. It keeps changing. There, the entire focus is on the hard skills that you bring to the table. There's not so much of focus on the soft skills. But I can tell you the ones which is, I'm nobody here to tell which is the right way to do, but this is the kind of shift that I'm seeing. I've seen it happening. So depending on where you get picked up, you have to continue oscillating between how do I get chosen.
Just to add on that, what I can say is that, every organization, every company is different. Every industry is different. So, and it's a top-down approach. Some organizations feel the day the person joins, the next day should start delivering. Yeah? So there's no honeymoon period, like the times which, people used to ask. And in fact, the Gen Z today, so I have a, so 70% of my staff is below the age of 30, right? So here people, acha to abhi, there is a induction which has happened, which is like a 3-day program and blah, blah, blah. So now, do we start working immediately after induction? So we say, yes, that's where you have to do, and that's where the expectation has been set. Vis-a-vis, an industry which I come from, which is wherein the induction itself was 1 month. Because you had to have an on-job training which required for a product to be understood very carefully for a person who's selling that. So I'm saying it's industry agnostic in terms of what's required in terms of the skill or the hiring, and then the hiring manager keeps changing the way it needs to be. So being a hiring manager in an X industry and a Y industry will work very differently. Depends upon what you want. What I can just conclude this entire thing of the campus recruitment piece and the hiring and the skills and everything is, what people are now looking at is, of course, somebody who can multitask, have various competencies in place, bare minimum, which is designed by the organization which they want to follow, and let's get people on board and throw them and let them swim. I think that's what I would like to, maybe.
Yeah, I've heard this very popular term now with corporates. It says mind of a large business manager, but the heart of an entrepreneur. I honestly don't know what it means, but that's the combination people are looking for. You know, your mind and heart have to act differently in any organization.
Thank you so much. Since we are 60 seconds, any one question we want to pick it up? Yeah.
So this is more on we have seen through like great resignations, downsizing. So at times what happens? Yeah. Do you want me to repeat again what I said?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
benefit of.
So what I said just now was like we have seen the great resignation era that is almost getting, I mean, it's getting stabilized now. And we also see a lot of downsizing happening. There were companies which, you know, people want to be a dream company where I should be. And you see that they also started downsizing. And in this regard, you also see the gig workers. If you take the 2021 data, it's almost $5.4 trillion was the income generated by them. So do you see a possibility of having contract-based working for the top talents, where you don't have, you know, it's a time bond? So do you see that upcoming or in future, the way we work?
Okay. Anybody would like to take?
Actually, it's already happening. There's a huge inflow of gig workers, and there's a lot of structure around it. Earlier, it used to be very, very difficult even to find them. Now it's a lot more easy, and people with a certain skill sets and a certain experience prefer to take up these assignments time-bound, deliver that, and probably do something else. It's no longer what it used to be that, okay, I took up this job, I want to be here, I'm going to be doing this forever. There's nothing forever now. So just to answer, it's the thing of the past, and I can only foresee it actually helping the organizations, because in the current time that we are all in, we don't even know how long we'll be part of a certain project. So it's better it is time bound. Earlier it was not time bound, it is time bound. Now imagine calling specialists and giving them the problem statement, and there's absolutely nothing there, right? No more cards. Just come, deliver, and move on. In my current assignment, I have plenty of consultants like this coming and doing some specialized projects for us, because we know that is not a long-term challenge for us.
In fact, if you look at even senior talent, there are two models. There is a model called interim talent, and you can look up Ojers Interim. It's a very popular offering across the world, where people come in on a contracted period, 12 months, 18 months, any part of the world. They can work and go back. And we've done some great hiring, because in some geographies in the world, you might find a certain dearth of talent, and that talent is available in other parts of the world. So that's one model. The other model, which is gaining some popularity, is called a fractional executive, where somebody works 2-3 days in a week. That's a little dicey, because you don't know what kind of multiple employments the individual is going to be doing. So that's something that we do not offer. But that's again a model that is gaining some traction.
Now, thank you so much with the repository of time, because before they start kicking me out. So I thank all the panel members for coming over and expressing your thoughts. And thank you so much. And we all are around, and we can always exchange our knowledge, and we can learn from each other. Thank you so much.